Michael Blackson is a freaky Muddasucka, and his love life is a hot, stankin' mess. What happens when comedy's wildest man turns his love life into a live-action soap opera? Buckle up, because Michael Blackson's story isn't just messy, it's a full-blown disaster wrapped in designer chaos. From open relationships to surprise babies, betrayal, and viral confessions, this tale proves that laughter can't hide heartbreak forever. We're diving deep into the scandal that has everyone talking, questioning, and side-eyeing. Is this love lust or just pure madness on display? Stay tuned. Hit that subscribe button and join the conversation only here on Legends of Black Excellence, where drama meets truth and nothing stays secret for long. A messy love story begins. When it comes to love, few stories are as unpredictable, outrageous, and downright entertaining as that of Michael Blackson. The self-proclaimed African king of comedy has never shied away from turning his private life into public theater, and nowhere is that more evident than in his relationship with Radha. Their romance didn't unfold like a Hollywood fairy tale, it was more like a live-action sitcom fueled by temptation, ego, and an open-door policy that kept everyone guessing who was next to walk in. From the very start, Michael made it clear that commitment for him came with an asterisk. Fidelity wasn't on the table. Flexibility was. And Radha, a stunning and outspoken woman with her own following, agreed to play along. What began as an unconventional love experiment soon evolved into something far more complicated, an emotional balancing act between affection and freedom. For audiences, their dynamic was both jaw-dropping and mesmerizing. While most couples argued about bills or chores, these two negotiated the logistics of infidelity. Michael, grinning ear to ear in interviews, proudly announced that his lifestyle required side chicks to keep the relationship exciting. Radha, sitting beside him, smiled through the awkwardness, partly out of loyalty, partly out of disbelief. Their chemistry was undeniable, but so was the chaos brewing underneath. Every appearance, every clip, every social media post became a chapter in a never-ending reality show that blurred the line between love and spectacle. The more transparent they were about their rules, the more the public couldn't look away. Viewers didn't just tune in for laughs, they tuned in to see if this love circus could actually survive its own fire. Enter the voice of the narrator, the digital auntie of reason who gave this saga its moral compass. With humor sharp enough to cut through the nonsense, she laid it out plainly. Michael and Radha weren't just bending the rules of romance, they were twisting them into pretzels. Through her commentary, the audience saw the absurdity and sadness tangled together. She reminded everyone that beneath the laughter and the headlines were two people trying and failing to make chaos look like chemistry. Her tone alternated between amusement and exasperation, making the unfolding drama feel like both a comedy roast and a cautionary sermon. She spoke for those shaking their heads, muttering, "Child, this mess ain't love, it's confusion with good lighting." By the end of the introduction, one thing was clear: this wasn't just another celebrity couple drama, it was a full-blown cultural moment. Michael's unapologetic honesty about his desires collided with Radha's quiet endurance, creating a narrative that said more about modern relationships than any scripted show could. Their open love turned into an open wound, their laughter into background noise for a growing storm. The story wasn't simply about infidelity or fame. It was about the cost of treating love like a game without rules. And as Auntie's final words echoed, "Protect your peace, baby." Before your piece becomes the punchline, viewers knew they were witnessing not just scandal, but a masterclass in beautiful, chaotic self-destruction. Michael's early marriage and wild past. Before fame and chaos wrapped his name in headlines, Michael Blackson lived a very different chapter. In 1995, at just 22, he walked down the aisle for the first time. The marriage didn't survive his early hustle as an immigrant chasing comedy dreams across Philadelphia's stages. After the divorce, life rolled forward without pause. Michael became a father 4 times over with different partners. Each relationship added another layer to the complex man behind the punchlines. While he built a reputation for raw, no-filter humor, his personal world mirrored that unpredictability. The same fearlessness that drove his jokes seemed to bleed into his romances, leaving a trail of love, laughter, and heartbreak scattered behind the spotlight. Fast forward 2 decades to 2016, and Michael's romantic saga reached another turning point. By then, he wasn't just a stand-up regular, he was a cultural fixture celebrated for turning immigrant struggles into comedy gold. Enter Georgia Rain, a sultry R&B singer whose voice carried soul and heartbreak in equal measure. Together, they made an attractive pair, his bold humor balancing her artistic elegance. Their whirlwind connection moved fast, too fast. Within weeks, Georgia and Michael shared a home, and cameras captured their chemistry on the Oxygen reality show, Living with Funny. To the public, they looked like a quirky match made for entertainment, the loud comedian and the poised songstress trying to make love work amid laughter and late-night gigs. Behind the cameras, however, the fairy tale was already cracking. Fame, temptation, and distance turned intimacy into speculation. Michael's schedule kept him on the road. Georgia's music career demanded focus. Rumors crept in like static between channels. Social media followed every move and every silence. Fans wanted them to succeed, two creative souls finding balance, but the glare of public life can burn hotter than any stage light. Both were learning the hard way that exposure magnifies every flaw. What once felt like spontaneity began to resemble instability, and the dream of a long-term union faltered under real-world strain. Looking back, this period marked the spark of the larger drama that would define Michael's love story for years to come. His first marriage had ended quietly. This one ended loudly with audiences watching. It revealed a pattern that would repeat itself: intense attraction, rapid connection, inevitable collapse. The blend of charisma and carelessness that made him famous also made commitment difficult. Georgia Rain's chapter wasn't just another failed romance, it was the prelude to the storm that would follow. The seeds of spectacle had already been planted. What came next would make his early missteps look tame in comparison. The Instagram hack scandal. In the digital age, secrets don't just slip, they explode. For Michael Blackson and Georgia Rain, that explosion arrived in 2016 disguised as a celebrity scandal. It started with a single hacked Instagram account belonging to model and influencer Lyra Galore. Overnight, private conversations, photos, and messages with various public figures spilled across the internet. Among the names trending in those leaks was Michael Blackson, the comedian whose humor had always thrived on honesty, now facing the harsh glare of too much transparency. The messages themselves weren't explicit. He'd allegedly reached out about an acting opportunity, but the timing and tone fed the rumor mill. For a man already branded by headlines as unpredictable, the optics alone were enough to ignite a firestorm. At the time, Lyra Galore was best known for her relationship with rapper Rick Ross, so the hack drew immense attention from hip-hop and gossip circles alike. Every screenshot became a spark for speculation. Was this just another harmless DM exchange or something more calculated? The internet didn't care about nuance. It craved scandal. Georgia Rain watched the spectacle unfold with growing unease. Her partner's name sat beside men whose reputations for excess and infidelity were legendary. For a woman building her own career on talent and independence, that association stung. The headlines didn't just question Michael's fidelity, they questioned her judgment for staying. Then, as if the gossip gods demanded more chaos, another blow landed. A woman claiming to be one of Michael's secret flings leaked photos of herself lounging in the same bedroom Georgia shared with him. The images were unmistakable: same bedspread, same headboard, same apartment. Within hours, blogs and entertainment sites splashed them across feeds with captions that needed no explanation. Georgia's heartbreak was now public property. To the world, it looked like confirmation the funny man who made everyone laugh was living a joke of his own creation. What hurt most wasn't just betrayal. It was humiliation on display for millions to see. Georgia Rain finally broke her silence. In a social media post that balanced grace with exhaustion, she admitted that the whispers were true. Michael had cheated more than once, and the damage couldn't be undone. Her words were measured, not vengeful. "You can never do enough for a man who hasn't healed himself." That line echoed across outlets and fan pages, becoming both a eulogy and a warning. The breakup was official, and so was the beginning of a pattern that would define Michael's love life for years. The laughter that once covered his flaws now amplified them, turning a private mistake into a viral morality play where every emoji carried the weight of broken trust. Georgia Rain's heartbreak. Heartbreak doesn't always arrive quietly. Sometimes it storms in loud enough for the world to hear. After the digital chaos and betrayal rumors, Georgia Rain reached her breaking point. The singer, known for her poise and emotional depth, took to social media to address what fans had been whispering for months. Her post wasn't just another celebrity statement, it was a confession, a declaration, and a final cry for peace. In it, she revealed that Michael Blackson had been unfaithful with not one, not two, but more than 4 women during their relationship. Her tone was steady, but her words cut deep. She described a love that had drained her, calling out his inability to stay faithful and his need for constant validation. Her honesty hit harder than any tabloid headline, exposing not only his infidelity, but the emotional toll it had taken on her spirit. Georgia's message resonated far beyond gossip blogs. Fans who had admired her strength began to rally around her, applauding her decision to choose dignity over denial. She didn't throw insults or seek pity. Instead, she wrote with the composure of someone who had seen too much and finally decided to walk away. She spoke of a man who, despite fame and success, carried deeper issues than I could ever fix. That single phrase became the emotional center of her statement, a reflection of love's limits and the futility of trying to heal someone unwilling to confront his own pain. It wasn't just about cheating, it was about a pattern of self-destruction masked as charm. In the weeks that followed, silence filled the space where laughter used to live. Michael, never one to stay quiet for long, hinted at regret, but never fully addressed the accusations. Then, just as fans assumed the story was over, the couple shocked everyone by reconciling. For a brief moment, hope flickered. They were seen together again, sharing smiles that looked almost genuine. Some called it love's resilience. Others saw denial dressed as forgiveness. But the old wounds hadn't healed, they had only been covered up. The same forces that tore them apart, ego, temptation, and emotional instability, soon resurfaced stronger than before. When the final breakup came, it felt less like an ending and more like the inevitable collapse of something that had been crumbling for years. Georgia Rain walked away for good, her composure intact, her heart scarred but free. Michael returned to his comfort zone humor, as a shield chaos as his constant companion. Their story faded from the headlines, but it left behind a lesson in boundaries and self-worth. Georgia's decision to choose herself over dysfunction wasn't just a personal victory, it was a quiet revolution. A reminder that even in the loudest relationships, silence can be the truest form of closure. Meeting Radha in Las Vegas. Fate has a funny way of introducing trouble disguised as charm, and for Michael Blackson, that twist came in the neon glow of Las Vegas. It was sometime around 2020 when the comedian, still licking the wounds of past breakups, crossed paths with the ever-energetic Lil Jon at the airport. The rapper, known for his wild party anthems, invited Michael to a DJ set later that night. What seemed like an ordinary night of music and mischief soon turned into a pivotal moment in Michael's tangled love chronicle. There, under the pulsing lights and pounding bass, he met Radha Darling, a confident, striking woman with an easy laugh and a spark that immediately drew his attention. Their chemistry was instant, the kind that didn't need words or promises, only proximity. From that encounter began a connection that blurred every line between affection and arrangement. Unlike the romances that came before this one, didn't start with declarations of devotion. It started with a deal. Michael, having long abandoned the idea of monogamy, made his intentions crystal clear. He told Radha from the beginning that faithfulness wasn't part of his vocabulary. For once, he was upfront about his desires, no pretenses, no apologies. Surprisingly, Radha didn't flinch. She listened, smiled, and said she could handle it. Maybe it was curiosity, maybe confidence, or maybe a desire to prove she was different from those who came before. Either way, she stepped into his orbit, knowing the rules. Their connection quickly turned physical, the kind of friends with benefits situation that thrives on laughter, lust, and a hint of danger. The more time they spent together, the harder it became to pretend that emotions weren't evolving. Michael admired Radha's independence and her ability to match his humor without being overshadowed by it. For her part, she enjoyed the thrill of dating a man who lived life unapologetically. In interviews later, she explained her philosophy with striking honesty: when you sleep with the same person for years, it gets boring. That sentence became the unofficial manifesto of their unconventional bond. To outsiders, it sounded shocking. To them, it was logic. They believed that transparency could replace fidelity, that freedom could coexist with love. Yet beneath the laughter and bravado, the cracks were already forming, because even open hearts can feel the sting of competition. Still, during those early months, they lived in a blissful illusion that honesty would protect them from heartbreak. Vegas became their playground, and every encounter added another spark to their chemistry. Lil Jon unknowingly had introduced two people destined to test the boundaries of modern romance. What began as a spontaneous connection quickly turned into a full-fledged partnership that defied convention. Michael saw in Radha a woman strong enough to withstand his chaos. Radha saw in him a challenge too thrilling to resist. Neither realized that what felt liberating would soon turn into a labyrinth of emotions they could never fully control. Open relationship rules gone wrong. What began as an unconventional love story soon morphed into an emotional battlefield. Michael Blackson and Radha had entered their arrangement with a mutual understanding, or so they thought. He promised transparency, she promised acceptance, and together they tried to build a bond that could survive without the walls of exclusivity. At first it felt daring, almost glamorous. They invited other women into their shared space, believing this openness would keep their connection exciting rather than restrictive. Their chemistry, already charged now, carried a hint of danger that made everything feel more alive. But what seemed like freedom on paper soon revealed its cracks in practice. The thrill faded, replaced by uncertainty. Even in a so-called open relationship, someone always feels left out of the fun. For Radha, the first sign of imbalance came when she realized Michael wasn't just experimenting, he was expanding. While she followed the agreed rules, he began venturing beyond them. Private dinners, late-night calls, and secret meetups with women who weren't part of their shared understanding started surfacing. The comedian justified it as harmless indulgence, insisting that what he did outside didn't affect their bond. But emotional reality doesn't bend so easily. What Radha once dismissed as just his lifestyle began to sting like betrayal. It wasn't jealousy born from possession, it was the slow erosion of respect. She could share his time, but not his lies. The tension escalated further when she learned that her freedoms were not equal to his. Michael had made it clear she could entertain other women but not men. Side chicks, yes. Side dudes, absolutely not. That unspoken double standard turned their open arrangement into a cage with invisible bars. Radha's patience thinned as she realized that the same liberty that empowered him became control when applied to her. Every argument circled back to fairness, every apology melted into laughter, and every moment of peace felt temporary. Beneath their smiles lay frustration that neither wanted to confront out loud. What they called agreement was really surrender, hers, not his. Eventually, the imbalance reached its breaking point. Their love, once marketed as modern and mature, became a study in contradictions. Michael flaunted his honesty as virtue, yet used it as an excuse to avoid accountability. Radha tried to embody strength, but beneath her calm exterior, resentment simmered. She no longer recognized the fun-loving dynamic they once shared. What had started as a bold experiment in freedom turned into an exhausting cycle of indulgence and insecurity. The spark that once made them magnetic was now burning them alive. In trying to redefine love, they had only proven one thing: even in an open relationship, the heart has boundaries that no deal can protect. Breakup negotiations and a public proposal. By 2021, the emotional tightrope between Michael Blackson and Radha had finally snapped. After months of tension, quiet, resentment, and endless negotiations over loyalty, Radha decided she'd had enough. Her public statement was as measured as it was revealing. She said that Michael had internal issues he needed to work on. It wasn't anger that drove her away, but exhaustion, the kind that comes from loving someone who mistakes chaos for charisma. The couple's open relationship, once paraded as proof of honesty, had turned into a drain on her spirit. Radha no longer wanted to compete for peace. Their split played out online, with fans dissecting every word and debating whether she'd truly walk away. For the first time, Michael seemed caught off guard. Beneath the jokes and bravado, there was a flicker of vulnerability, a man watching his self-created circus collapse without the woman who held it together. But endings are never final when pride and passion share the same stage. A few months later, whispers of reconciliation began circulating. The two were spotted together again, laughing like nothing had happened. In interviews, Michael admitted that they'd worked things out, though his version of compromise was anything but traditional. They had apparently negotiated the terms of his extracurricular activities. According to him, Radha agreed he could have one outside partner each month, his idea of balance. To outsiders, the arrangement sounded absurd, almost comical, but for them it was a fragile peace offering. He framed it as progress proof that he was learning to limit his impulses. She accepted it, perhaps out of love, perhaps out of fatigue. Whatever the reason, they were back together, their relationship once again becoming a spectacle that blurred sincerity and performance. Then came the grand gesture, one that would cement their story in pop culture memory. During a guest appearance on The Breakfast Club, the popular radio show hosted by Charlemagne the God, Michael decided to turn confession into theater. Midway through the interview, he reached into his pocket, pulled out a ring, and proposed to Radha live on air. The studio erupted with applause and laughter as cameras captured her stunned expression. It was messy, unpredictable, and completely on brand for him. For a man who lived his life under the spotlight, a private moment simply wouldn't do. Radha, caught between disbelief and emotion, said yes. In that instant, chaos turned into romance, or at least the illusion of it. The viral moment flooded social media within hours. Fans called it redemption, critics called it manipulation, and Michael called it love. Yet even as the diamond glittered under studio lights, the questions lingered. Could a relationship built on constant compromise survive under public scrutiny? For now, none of that mattered. In the eyes of millions, they had transformed dysfunction into spectacle, heartbreak into entertainment. Radha smiled for the cameras, Michael cracked jokes, and for one fleeting moment it looked like the laughter might last. No wedding, just excuses. Time has a way of exposing truth, and for Michael Blackson and Radha, time revealed more than either was ready to face. After the glittering proposal that captivated fans, expectations ran high. Everyone anticipated a lavish ceremony complete with laughter, chaos, and celebrity flair. But months turned into years, and the wedding never came. Each time, reporters asked, Michael sidestepped the question with the confidence of a man who knew charm could cover hesitation. He insisted that the timing just wasn't right, claiming he was overwhelmed by career obligations. Stand-up tours, television projects, and business ventures all became convenient shields against commitment. Radha, patient but weary, smiled through interviews, repeating the same vague reassurance that it will happen when it's meant to. Behind those calm words, however, lay frustration. The fairy tale proposal had faded into an echo, leaving her holding promises that never materialized. By 2024, the illusion of certainty had worn thin. When Michael appeared in an interview and declared that the key to happiness was having fun, the statement struck a nerve. To him, it was another punchline. To Radha, it was a public dismissal of everything she'd waited for. The implication was clear: his version of joy still involved freedom flirting and a rotating cast of admirers. Social media lit up with commentary, half laughing, half condemning. Some fans defended his honesty. Others accused him of emotional immaturity. For Radha, the quote confirmed what she had quietly feared: the man she loved was addicted not to women, but to attention. While he basked in applause, she was left to reconcile the growing emptiness between them. The diamond on her finger no longer symbolized a promise; it had become a placeholder for all the things he wouldn't give. Then, instead of a wedding, came something entirely different: motherhood. In June 2025, Radha gave birth to their son Mikey, a beautiful boy with his father's energy and his mother's grace. For a moment, the world believed this child might anchor their stormy bond. Photos of Michael cradling his newborn filled feeds with likes and heart emojis. The comedian called fatherhood the greatest blessing, and for once his smile seemed unforced. Radha glowed beside him, her posts filled with gratitude and new purpose. Yet beneath the surface, silence replaced laughter. The baby had brought love, but not stability. By the end of that year, it was obvious that the long-awaited wedding would never happen. Radha stopped mentioning plans altogether, redirecting her focus toward her son and her own healing. Michael, meanwhile, returned to the stage, spinning jokes about relationships gone wrong. The irony was almost poetic. The man who made the world laugh couldn't deliver on the one promise that mattered. Their story, once a spectacle of defiance, had quietly turned into a portrait of delay, denial, and bittersweet acceptance. Two babies, double trouble. Just when it seemed the turbulence had settled, another storm broke loose, one that would shatter whatever illusion of peace remained. In October 2025, Michael Blackson stunned the public with an announcement that even his most loyal fans didn't see coming. On social media, the comedian revealed that just 2 months after the birth of his son Mikey with Radha, he had welcomed another baby boy with a different woman, a longtime friend he had known for over 5 years. The revelation dropped like a bombshell, igniting headlines across entertainment outlets. The new child, named King Blackson, instantly became the center of a media frenzy. What was meant to be a joyful confession quickly turned into an admission of betrayal. Michael's tone in his post was strangely casual, as though trying to soften the blow with humor, but the damage was irreversible. For Radha, the confession was nothing short of devastating. After enduring years of compromise, public scrutiny, and delayed promises, this final blow confirmed every unspoken fear. She had already adjusted to an unconventional relationship, but becoming one of 2 women giving birth to his children within weeks was unbearable. Friends close to her hinted that she learned about King the same way the world did, through Michael's post. That revelation turned private pain into a public humiliation. Her silence in the days that followed spoke louder than any statement. When she finally appeared online again, the engagement ring was gone, replaced by captions about healing and self-respect. Without any dramatic farewell, she simply walked away, choosing peace over another round of heartbreak. Meanwhile, Michael tried to reframe the chaos as divine irony. He described both sons as blessings, acknowledging that the situation was messy, but insisting he intended to be a devoted father. His apology to Radha was brief, buried within the same post that introduced King to the world. "I hope she forgives me for the pain I caused," he wrote. "I will be the best dad I can be." The words sounded sincere yet hollow, like a man aware of his guilt but incapable of change. Fans were split. Some sympathized, calling it an honest mistake. Others condemned him, saying he had turned love into a punchline. The phrase "a friend of 5 years" became a viral meme, a symbol of the blurred lines between loyalty and betrayal. By the year's end, the image of Michael juggling 2 newborns across separate households became both tragic and absurd. He called it a blessing in disguise, but the disguise fooled no one. The once loud advocate for open relationships now looked like a man cornered by his own choices. Radha moved forward quietly, focusing on Mikey, while Michael filled his calendar with performances, perhaps to drown out the noise. The laughter that once defined him had turned bittersweet, echoing the truth that even comedians can't joke their way out of consequence. Apologies and public fallout. When the truth finally caught up to him, Michael Blackson faced the one stage he could no longer control: public opinion. In the aftermath of his double paternity revelation, the comedian broke his silence with a carefully worded apology that blended remorse and comedy in equal measure. He addressed Radha, directly acknowledging the pain he had caused her and her family. For once, his tone lacked bravado. The usual jokes that softened his scandals were replaced by sentences that sounded almost humble. He admitted that before announcing the birth of his second child, he had only informed his mother and his adult sons. Everyone else, including Radha, learned the news from the same post the world saw. "I thought I was protecting everyone by keeping quiet," he explained, but the confession only underscored how disconnected he had become from the people closest to him. It wasn't malice, it was immaturity wearing the mask of self-confidence. The apology rippled across platforms, sparking a wave of emotional reactions. Some viewers saw a man finally taking accountability, while others dismissed it as damage control disguised as sincerity. Radha remained silent, her restraint adding gravity to the situation. Her absence from his narrative was itself a statement, a quiet refusal to play supporting character in his redemption arc. Meanwhile, Michael's fan base split into factions. One side clung to his charm, insisting he was just being real, while the other called for introspection instead of excuses. Every word he posted was dissected, debated, and replayed, turning his private contrition into a public referendum on celebrity accountability. For a man whose entire brand was built on humor, this was one punchline that refused to land. In a characteristic blend of honesty and deflection, Michael tried to lighten the tension with a self-deprecating remark that immediately went viral. "I'm only dating women who ran out of periods or had hysterectomies," he quipped, promising he was done fathering children like Nick Cannon or Elon Musk. The line, meant to inject levity, did what all his jokes do. It made people laugh before forcing them to cringe. The comparison struck a chord. Nick Cannon, known for his sprawling family, and Elon Musk, famous for his unfiltered approach to parenthood, became mirrors reflecting Michael's own impulsiveness. But beneath the humor lingered exhaustion, a man using laughter as armor, while the consequences of his choices surrounded him. His comedic instincts couldn't shield him from the reality that jokes lose their charm when they sound like confessions. By the close of 2025, Michael's name was no longer just a punchline. It had become a parable about self-sabotage. The internet moved on as it always does, but his reputation carried the scars of overexposure. Fans hoped he would learn. Critics doubted he ever would. Radha, dignified in her silence, continued building a quieter life, while Michael chased stages and second chances. His apology marked the end of one saga and the uneasy beginning of another, a man confronting the truth that not every mistake can be laughed away. Lessons on love, ego, and consequences. In the end, Michael Blackson and Radha's story became more than celebrity gossip. It evolved into a mirror reflecting the emotional chaos of modern relationships. Their journey, once packaged as daring and progressive, unraveled into a cautionary tale about the cost of confusing openness with fulfillment. At first, they believed transparency could substitute for trust, that setting rules could tame jealousy, and that love could thrive without boundaries. But as their experiment played out before millions, the cracks widened for all to see. What began as curiosity transformed into disconnection, and what they called freedom became fatigue. The laughter faded, replaced by the weight of unspoken resentment. Their saga invited audiences to question whether the promise of no limits in love truly liberates or simply erodes what makes intimacy meaningful. From a psychological standpoint, their relationship exposed the fragile nature of the human ego. Open partnerships may sound evolved, but they demand an emotional balance few can sustain. Beneath every agreement lies an unspoken competition for affection, a quiet dread of being replaced. Michael's bravado masked insecurity. Radha's acceptance concealed loneliness. The dynamic between them illustrated how easily desire can disguise dependency. When one person loves deeper than the other, the illusion of equality collapses. Studies on relationship psychology have shown that shared physical freedom rarely compensates for emotional imbalance. Each new partner added to their arrangement didn't expand their love, it diluted it. What they mistook for empowerment was in truth the slow unraveling of connection disguised as control. Radha's composure and eventual withdrawal became the silent counterpoint to Michael's chaos. She embodied the quiet strength of someone learning the difference between compromise and self-sacrifice. He represented the restless pursuit of novelty, a man who confused availability with affection. Together, they demonstrated that laughter cannot fix loneliness, and permission cannot prevent pain. Their rise and fall weren't simply about infidelity, they were about two people trying to bend human nature to fit a fantasy. For audiences who once envied their boldness, their downfall served as proof that emotional honesty without empathy is just another form of selfishness. Love, when stripped of boundaries and respect, becomes performance art, a spectacle for others, rather than a sanctuary for two. And so, as the digital auntie narrator reminded viewers in the video's closing monologue, the lesson was clear. Protect your peace. Guard your body, your heart, and your sanity as fiercely as you would your home. In a world obsessed with instant gratification, restraint is the real rebellion. Michael and Radha's saga wasn't just messy entertainment. It was a study in what happens when freedom outpaces accountability. Beneath the jokes and the drama lay a universal truth. Love may forgive almost anything, but it cannot survive when it forgets to protect itself first. In the end, Michael Blackson and Radha's story remains both a spectacle and a study in modern love, messy, magnetic, and impossible to ignore. Their journey forces one lingering question: is freedom in love truly strength, or just a prettier word for fear of commitment? Some call their openness brave. Others see it as heartbreak on repeat. Whatever your take, one truth stands: every choice has a cost, and not every laugh hides happiness. So tell us what you think is open love evolution or illusion. Drop your thoughts below. This is Legends of Black Excellence, where the story never ends.